Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I see that everybody is coming in from a couple different areas. I'm so excited for this session. I have some amazing people joining me today for this session. If you are here for Squatch, which is our session is all about building a GenAI platform on AWS. So if you're here for that, this is the right place to be. I have some amazing people in the background as well working. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to post them in the chat. And we have some experts there that are ready to handle your questions. Before we get started, I want to know where everyone's coming in from. I am in Canada. And just a quick intro, my name is Shannon Brazil. I am a host here today on AWS Squatch Talks. I am joined by three colleagues of mine. We will start with Nikhil. Can you give us a 30-second intro about you, about the show, and where you're calling and where you're joining from?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shannon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining in, first of all. My name is Nikhil Patne, and I'm a Senior Technical Account Manager at AWS. I'm joining in from Seattle, Washington. And about Squatch Talks, so 3 years ago, I launched Squatch Talks as an internal initiative. The goal was to create a gamified learning program to uh, to simplify AWS concepts into interactive sessions. So after its overwhelming success internally, my team and I are thrilled to now share it with all of you here externally. So as Shannon mentioned, I'm super excited to kick off our first public episode on building a GenAI platform on AWS.
So exciting. So excited to get into it. We still have two other people to introduce. We'll go with Rashad.
Hey everyone, my name is Rushabh Shah. I'm also a technical account manager here at AWS. I'm based out of Seattle, Washington. Um, so Nikhil mentioned about his team. I'm his team. So yeah, I joined Nikhil, and we worked on this initiative and got great success. And that's how we wanted to have our customers and our audiences here to also have that experience. The main part of it is being it more gamified. So I hope you like it, and we'll add more quizzes in future with the sessions. And just one anecdote. This is an important day for me, as over this weekend I'm going to complete 10 years with AWS. So really happy.
Oh, congratulations. That's so exciting. That's super exciting. I'm so happy for you. And last but not least, we have the amazing Amna. If you can give us a quick introduction and where you're joining from.
Yeah, hi from sunny Munich, Germany. Already evening over here, so good evening to everyone based on where you're joining from. I'm Amna Najmi. I'm a specialist solutions architect for generative AI at AWS. And today I'm going to talk about what we do with bringing generative AI applications into production and really achieving real business value from it. So really looking forward to chatting with all of you.
Amazing. And if you are new to generative AI, we do have a skill builder session. If you are not familiar with AWS Skill Builder, AWS Skill Builder is a platform created by AWS where you can learn all about our services. There are free tiers that you can do as much learning as you want for free, but also there are some paid tiers where you have a learning path. There's Cloud Quest, there's a whole bunch of gamified learning as well. But there's one specific one that I want to share, and this is the Introduction to Generative AI, and I'll put that up on the screen so you guys can take a look. So this generative AI, art of the possible, like I said, if you want to enroll, you just sign up or sign in to enroll. It is completely free. It'll give you the fundamental knowledge of generative AI, and it's just been updated, so you know it is up to date and ready for you to get started. Okay, so I do have a question for everybody in the chat. Is, have you tried any GenAI tools this year? And just type yes or no, or let us know in the chat which ones you've tried so far, which ones you enjoyed and which ones did you maybe not enjoy? So I want to start with Amna because you have a lot of experience and you've seen a lot of the journey for generative AI. So where are we today in generative AI journey, and what led us here, and where do you think 2025 and 2026 is taking us?
Absolutely. So I've been working with a lot of customers in the last couple of years with generative AI, right? So I'm an AI engineer. I started, developing very traditional machine learning AI models, and over time, especially 2 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, there was this evolution where, customers and everyone started talking about, hey, what are these generative models? What's generative AI, and how can I use that in my application? So 2.5 years ago, it was a lot of like pilots and proof of concepts. So 2023 actually was considered as the year of POCs, or proof of concepts, when it came to generative AI. Last year, actually, we've seen a lot of proof of concepts going into production or in the hands of live users. Customers were talking a lot about, hey, I have tried building a chat application for a small team, but now I want to take a step forward and take it into production, take it in the hands of thousands and hundreds of users. And that's where, a lot of questions start rising, which is around, okay, how do I observe this application? How do I monitor and log the different steps and interactions when it comes to this application that I'm building? How do I evaluate the performances of my models that I'm using in these applications? So what we've seen last year is taking these applications into production and also trying to kind of measure the performance and also log, and observe and monitor the application and the interaction. This year, actually, what's happening a lot is we have a lot of applications that have been going into production, but we have our business stakeholders coming to us and asking, hey, what's the value? Okay.
Yeah.
So, done great stuff. There's a lot of technical innovation that you brought in, but how is this agent that you've built? Like 2025 is also considered to be the year of agents. Everyone's building agents left, right, center. And the question now is, when you want sponsors to sponsor your project, what is the real business value? What is my return on investment? So that is where we're at the moment. So it's really realizing and understanding what the business value really is.
Perfect. Amazing. So I have a poll here for everybody to join in on. If we can put that up on the screen, let's get started. So type in the chat 1, 2, 3, or 4 what you feel that 2025 has been like. Is it the year of the POCs, the year of the business value? Maybe it's the year of production, or maybe it's the year of GenAI orchestration. Put your votes in the chat 1, 2, 3, or 4. Yes. This is awesome. So I love that, the journey that you're coming into, because what I feel is that we have so many applications, but like a lot of leaders are asking is the so what? That's the so what question, right? And I want to kind of bring it over to Nikhil and get his opinion on what he feels that 2025 feels like.
Yeah, just to echo what Amna said, right? Not going directly into the correct answer here, but we'll start with the process of elimination. Maybe option number 1 here, year of POCs, as Amna mentioned, it started about like a couple of years ago when our customers started exploring generative AI. So they started with pilots and proof of concepts. So option number 1 is not the correct answer because we are looking into 2025. Now let's look at option number 3 and 4. So followed by the POCs, we entered the year of production, which was 2024, when customers started moving their production workloads and started using generative AI tools and services for them. So option number 3 is also not the correct answer. Quickly talking about and option number 4. So generative AI orchestration, it's not like time bound. So it has been, working in parallel with the year of production. So around like 2024-ish, and Amna, you can chime in. So that is also not the right answer. The correct answer here should be option number 2, the year of business value. So this year we started understanding the value that generative AI brings in.
That's awesome. It's exactly what I'm seeing as well. So now that we kind of understand the journey of it and what we're expected for 2025 and future of GenAI, because we see a lot of comments in here talking about some things that have just been released, I want to ask a very specific question to Abnat, and what does it actually take to build a GenAI platform? Can you give us a snapshot of what that looks like?
Absolutely. I'll quickly start sharing my screen. Let me know if you have that in front of you. While we're waiting, I'll just quickly start talking.
Yeah, just give us a brief thing of.
Yeah, absolutely. So when talking about taking generative AI applications into production in the hands of real users, how we look at it is, different Lego blocks. So there are different kinds of components and foundations that we establish, and then we start building on top of it, right? So imagine you are building a chat application. The first thing that we look at is, hey, I need to get access to different kinds of models that work really well with the kind of application or use case that I'm working with. You could be building a chat assistant for a financial organization or healthcare and so on and so forth. So the first building block or foundation for a GenAI platform that we look at is a gateway. A gateway is something that provides you with a list of models, like a model hub, where you can leverage different models from different kinds of providers and vendors. So there is this option of different kind of models, and now because we are also into agents, you also have something like an agent hub. So you might have multiple different agents that you leverage in order to solve your business problem. So the first component would be the model hub and the agent hub, which is made available via the gateway, and Rushabh will talk more about it shortly. Moving on, we also talk about orchestration, right? So Nikhil had this option in his question about, okay, is orchestration part of or the focus in 2025? And as he rightly pointed out, right, orchestration has been part of generative AI since the very start, because generative AI, building generative AI applications, not just calling a large language model and getting a response. There are multiple steps that come along the way. For example, you might have to pull in some data from a knowledge base. You might have to, make an API call to get some information about the weather, for example, right? So you might have to call some tools. So in order to stitch all of these steps together, you really need orchestration. So that is, again, the next component of a generative AI foundation. Once you have an application built as well, you would need observability. So once you have your application working, you have users using it, you need to make sure what exactly is happening. What are the kinds of questions that are being asked to your application? What's the quality of the response? Is it too slow? Is it incorrect? And how do you improve it? So before you go into the improvement part of it, you need to make sure that you observe and you understand what's exactly going wrong. So observability is another important component of a generative AI platform. And with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yes.
So another important component of this landscape is responsible AI and security. So you, of course, when you are exposing your application to your employees or also to your customers, you need to make sure that your application is safe, secure. There's no sensitive information that is being passed on or saved, and your models are also not responding with something that's harmful, toxic, or can take the image or reputation of your organization or your product in danger, right? So responsible AI is also another important component. How do you basically put all of this together would be the operations part of it. So generative AI operations is something that helps stitch all of these components together and automate the process, like any other software application. So automation in generative AI ops is another part. And I'll just take a quick break and pause here and see if there are any questions or if someone else wants to add something else. But we will anyway dive deeper into each of these components.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to dive deeper. So if anybody in the chat, if you're building something similar, I'm gonna show what I'm sharing on my screen right now, we're gonna put that link in the chat for you to read. These blogs will definitely walk you through the patterns that you can adopt and scale responsibly. And also, we'll have a blog as well that we can share for insights on implementing production-ready solutions with generative AI. So we'll share those in the chat, and you'll be able to read through this amazing blog. Did you write this, Amna?
Yeah, so
Okay.
my team is my team is working on providing best practices on how to take your generative AI application into production with the help of foundations. So yes, we've authored this blog, and yeah.
There you are. Yeah, amazing. Perfect. I love it. So question for the chat is, if you had a GenAI assistant today, what's the first task that you would offload to it? Would it be like to set reminders, maybe like create yourself a schedule, a routine, maybe answer those like redundant emails that keep coming in to ask for the report? Maybe it's to create the report so you don't have to do anymore. So what would you have your GenAI assistant do for you? I also want to ask Rashab as well, just in case if he had an idea, if he had a GenAI assistant, what would you offload it to? The very first thing.
Well, going back to my 10 years, right? I would want it to access my emails and categorize it for me. We had so many emails there; it's so difficult to follow everything. So, for me, like emails would be a good use case.
Yeah, perfect. So now that we've talked about the overall structure, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about the responsibility part and maybe the guardrails. How would those help secure and especially our filtered outputs? And I'll throw it over to Nikhil. You can talk to us a little bit about that security.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Amna mentioned, and the very famous quote from Spider-Man, with more power comes great responsibility, right? So that is how we look at generative AI responsibility. So before I dive into like the security aspects of it or the guardrails so far, I wanted to touch briefly on like what Bedrock is for people who are not familiar with this concept. So Amazon Bedrock is a fully managed service that is offered by AWS, and so we'll be using this in the demo in like upcoming shortly. So it is a fully managed service that lets you choose high performing foundation models that are offered by leading AI companies like Anthropic, Meta, Stability AI, Amazon, and so on. And it uses a single API to give you access to these foundation models. Uh, it also offers broad set of capabilities. You need to build a generative AI application with security, privacy, and responsible AI. So think of it as, the all-in-one craft store for your DIY projects, right? Imagine you're working on a DIY project and like building a custom bookshelf. Now, instead of running to multiple specialty stores for tools, materials, and instructions, you visit this giant craft superstore, and that giant craft superstore is Amazon Bedrock. Now that we know what it is, now let me talk a little bit about the guardrails in Amazon Bedrock. So guardrails are the safeguards that you can put in place to adhere to your organizational security and compliance standards, right? Um, And just going back to the same analogy of all-in-one craft superstore, the store has some safety protocols in place. So much like Amazon Bedrock's guardrails, so that will guide and protect users while they innovate using the Amazon Bedrock or other generative AI tools. So talking about guardrails, right? Content filtering mechanisms are implemented as safeguards to control user AI interactions, and that will align application requirements and responsible AI policies to by minimizing undesirable or harmful content. So guardrails can check user inputs and FM outputs and filter or deny any topics that are not safe. It can also help you redact personally identifiable information or PII, and it will enhance the content safety and privacy in your generative AI applications. So talking about Amazon Bedrock guardrails, it is a native feature of Amazon Bedrock that you can use to put all of these safeguards in place. And this can be determined based on your company policies. Also, this is the guardrails are FM agnostic, meaning that you can use it across all the foundation models offered by Amazon Bedrock today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so that's what like responsible AI and guardrails play a role in the generative AI application development.
Amazing. So, for those that are in the audience here, I have a poll for everybody. If we don't want to get the poll on the screen there, and we'll also share the links to the Bedrock guardrails, which I think Chris, our lovely chat moderator, has already shared. So we'll get the poll up for you. But one of my questions is, if you were listening to Nikhil, is which service would you use to filter topics and deny providing investment advice? So let's get that poll up. Let's get that. You know what? I will do it. Here we go. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so which service would you use to filter topics? Would you use Bedrock Knowledge Base? Would you use Bedrock Guardrails? Would you use Bedrock Agents, or maybe Bedrock Model Customization? What would you use to filter topics and deny providing investment advice? And this is a test for the audience to see if you are listening to what our topic was. So, and so I'll leave that up for a minute, but what I want to do is kind of go through some of the questions that we had here. So when I asked everybody what you would use a GenAI to do, we had some individuals that said, track my finances. That's pretty good, right? We also had optimized email responses. Absolutely, I would totally do that. Have an efficient planner. Oh my gosh, if somebody could plan my day, my week, my vacations, that would be awesome. Segregating IP traffic and flagging in real time. So that is super cool. I could see our team. So my team is the customer incident response team here at AWS. And I would totally use that for investigating anomalous or suspicious traffic here. Walking my dog. Why though? I would want to spend so much time with my dog if I had a dog, but I get it. People are busy. So thank you so much, everybody who put in their votes. And what I want to do is kind of zoom in a little bit to, now that we have the orchestration and the visibility and the security of everything and being responsible with AI, I kind of want to zoom in more into this topic. I want to ask Rashad, like, how does a team manage? Because we were talking about, multiple models and, providers. So how does a team manage multiple models and providers in one place?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shannon. And if whoever is looking into Gen AI today, right, they know that there are newer models coming in like every other month or even every other week nowadays. and people don't want to get just logged into a single model or a single vendor. So how to make sure that they have that flexibility? So the answer to that is actually a GenAI gateway, or you can also call it as a LLM gateway or just gateway. So basically, it's a multi-tenant component that provides standardized APIs for secure access to multi-vendor models. And these multi-vendor models can be available in providers like Amazon Bedrock, SageMaker, third-party providers like Hugging Face and Anthropic. Um, Again, this gateway, it has a lot of features, and I want to quickly touch point on some of the key features like access and authorization. Like the gateway helps in managing authentication, authorization, and secure communication between users and the system. It ensures that only authorized users are given access to specific models, and it also supports fine-grained access control. Second is the unified API. As I said, standardized API, right? That's the main thing that the gateway provides to the different models. Rate limiting and throttling. Again, it ensures the usage limits. It can handle, as a platform, can handle API requests efficiently for controlling the number of requests that are allowed in a given time period. That helps preventing any overload or managing any traffic spikes. Cost attribution being one key feature. So the gateway monitors the usage across organizations and allocates cost to the team. Since these models can be resource intensive, tracking model usage helps allocate the right cost appropriately and optimize the resources and avoid any overspending. Next is scaling and load balancing. Gateway can handle load balancing and scaling over to different servers, model instances, or in AWS to different regions as well. So the applications or the system it keeps and remains responsive. And last but not the least is guardrails. Um, Gateway can basically help to apply content filter to the request and responses to through these guardrails. So that's some basic idea about what a gateway is and what are its key features, right? Uh, just wanted to then touch with that topic since we talked about multi models and like the
Mhm.
provider models. So let's see how we can actually build a multi provider Gen AI gateway on AWS, right? So let me quickly share my screen, or you're already sharing it for me. Awesome.
I think so. Yes.
Great. So yeah, the link will be shared with the audiences as well. So this is a great example. It's a great example of using how to like do a multi-provider Gen AI gateway setup on AWS. This is currently using Light LLM, which is an open source gateway. And as you can see in this picture, this is basically an architectural diagram which demonstrates how to deploy with Amazon ECS or Amazon EKS container orchestration, which is running on AWS. As you can see here, just quickly 100 level, just going through the topics here, like what are the different services and how they are used. The tenants and clients, basically application, they access this gateway proxy API through Route 53 URL endpoint or Amazon CloudFront, which is then protected against web exploits and bots using WAF. WAF then forwards this request to, as you can see, it forward this request to the application load balancer, which then load balances the traffic and sends it to the Amazon ECS task or Amazon EKS, which is Elastic Kubernetes Service Pods, which is running the GenAI gateway containers. The traffic coming to the load balancer uses TLS or SSL encryption, which basically secures the traffic, and it is done by using certificates basically, which is again issued by what you see over here is an ACM, which is a data
Mhm.
certificate manager. Then in the center, if you see, there is API middleware and Light LLM. So the container images for those are built during the guidance deployment and pushed to the Amazon the ECR, which is Elastic Container Registry. Uh,
Nice.
and then as you can see in the center, the Light LLM, it actually provides a unified application interface for
Yeah.
the configuration and interacting with the LLM providers, which is the main thing. And also, you see that the API or the middleware section in the center that basically integrates natively with Amazon Bedrock to enable features which are not supported by Light LLM, which is an open
Oh,
source project. So because of this API or the middleware that you see in the center, you can actually invoke models using Boto 3 if you like using that, because Light LLM only provides access to standard APIs. Then the next section, as you see on the right hand side, you see AWS model providers like Amazon Bedrock and Amazon Nova. They provide model access, guardrails, prompt caching, and routing to enhance the AI gateway and additional controls for the client through this unified API. Also, model access to Amazon SageMaker AI, as you can see here, they basically provide access to the models that are hosted on SageMaker AI as well. Next, as we see on the far right, is the external model providers. So the external model providers such as OpenAPI, Anthropic, or Vertex AI, they are configured using the Light LLM admin UI, which enables so it enables the additional model access through Light LLM's unified application interface.
Yeah.
So that's how it's done. And then if you see there on the somewhere on the center bottom is number 6, which is the Light LLM, how it integrates with the Amazon Elasticache, which is the Redis open source software, Amazon RDS, and AWS Secrets Manager. Elasticache basically helps to enable multi-tenant distribution of the application
Cool.
strings. RDS enables persistence of virtual API keys, and
Nice.
Secrets Manager, the important part here, because it basically helps and stores the credentials for the external model providers.
Yeah, so you're not exposing your APIs and your keys, because that's a pretty big
You
security.
want the credential to be exposed, right? So that's
Right.
the manager there. And last part is the bottom right bottom. You see a small Amazon S3 bucket there. Well, that's basically where the LLM and API middleware stores their application logs to dedicated S3 buckets, so that for any future troubleshooting or even to find out the access analysis, that can be used from data that's stored in the S3 bucket. So
That's awesome.
so that's
So-
like 100 level view of it. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
That's a pretty good view of everything that's happening. There's a lot happening, like you said. Thank you so much for explaining it to everybody in the audience. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. We do have some amazing people that are monitoring the chat that can help answer those questions. So what I want to do, though, is because we've only got 28 minutes left and we've still got a lot of things to get through. So I kind of want to go over to Amna to kind of explain, now that we see what's all happening, how do we know it's working?
Absolutely. So I was earlier talking about observability, and I think Rushabh also ended the explanation of the architecture with the logging of the application, right, in S3. So taking from there, the next important component of building a generative AI application is observability, and having that incorporated in your GenAI platform from the very start, so that you know what exactly is happening at every step. And as a guidance, what we picture this as is a 4-layer, workflow where building any, even traditional software application, you have component level metrics or service level metrics, right? Where you can kind of track the logs of, okay, when was the API call made? So, or when was that service invoked, and so on and so forth. So you have your, at the lowest level, you have your component level metrics. And then you go on to tracing and span. So this is where, as you can see here on the screen as well, you have generative AI observability, which is a capability that we are offering now, where you can end-to-end really monitor and track the performance of your generative AI application. So now generative AI observability is integrated with Amazon CloudWatch. So you could easily see from the very beginning when a user asks a question till the end when you get a response, or
Super good.
you invoke a guardrail because someone was trying to get sensitive information out of your application, why that response was blocked or what exactly happened. Another important aspect of this is that whenever I have observability in place while building applications for my customers, I can understand what the response time and the latency of my application is, and at which stage exactly am I kind of struggling with that, right? Because you need to make sure that your user experience is very smooth. So if your application is taking a long time in fetching the responses, then it's very difficult to understand at which component or at which step is this a bottleneck. So observability comes really handy, and I'm going to really show in the demo as well, the different steps and what was the amount of time taken at each step. So I talked about, basic observability with component level metrics. Then I moved on to tracing and spans, which is like GenAI observability. Then moves, I would really like to call out user feedback, right? So this is no rocket science. Every time you build a GenAI application, you have a front end, you have user experience, and what you want to do, especially if you want to like achieve business value or make your customers and users happy, is you make sure they like using your application, their problems are being solved. So that is when you have the third level of observability, which is user feedback. You must have seen a lot of these applications have a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There's also like a free text where you're like, oh, my answer was, I'm not happy with the answer, or too much time to get to my answer. We kind of, with observability, log and track all of this feedback in order to like understand why this was the response, and then improve it further, right? So that's how we are over time iterating and improving application. And then once we have all of these logs, we have advanced observability, where based on your kind of application, like if you're retrieving documents from a knowledge base, you have very advanced metrics like recall and precision and context coverage to understand also, at a very advanced level, how good your application is performing. With 2025 also being the year of agents, there are a lot of different advanced, metrics that are coming in to observe agents. So, you kind of try to understand what kind of tools were expected to be called when I asked this question to my agent, what were actually called, and how can I, improve it. So observability has been a very, very important component while building a generative AI platform. With that, I don't know, Shannon, do you have anything to add?
So I do, and it's mostly on the security and incident response side, right? So I love the fact that you called out the user feedback, because that's so, so important. But the other side of it is also, not only can you, with observability, you can debug what is happening, but let's say you have a security incident. That's how you're going to figure out, did someone use it or abuse it, or, was there an unauthorized activity in there? Is there something exposed or not working the way it's supposed to be, that maybe it is an incident response, but maybe it's not a security incident response. So it really helps build out that context for your security team and your production team as well, to kind of understand, what do we do next? Is this a security issue that we need to address? So I absolutely love the observability. That's something that, as an incident responder, the more logs, the better, right? And I want to ask the audience right now is, do you check your API logs daily? Or is it weekly? Do you even check them? Let me know in the comments if you do check your AI app logs and how frequently you do check them. And it's okay if you're saying that it's never. That's fine. That's just a call out to maybe say that you should, create a habit of checking them now. So now that we talked about the overall architecture, we talked about multi-tenants, we talked about all these different models and the security of it, the responsibility of it, and the observability of it. What is the right structure in running AI across a company? And I'm going to point this to Nikhil to kind of understand, what are the options that everyone has to do it right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about structure, mostly for larger organizations, right? They often have business units with multiple lines of businesses or LOBs, and they generally have a central governing entity. And in a AWS setup, they use AWS organizations with multi-account strategy, right? So one of the challenges that we solve for is, who owns the foundational components that Amna, Rishabh, and myself explained before. and how do they operate within the organization's operating model, right? So we have three different types of operating models: centralized, decentralized, and hybrid or federated. So when we talk about centralized operating model, in that model, operations are centralized to a single team, and foundational components especially go to the central generative AI and ML team, aka platform team or platform engineering team, and they provide they provision and manage end-to-end GenAI workflows, models, and data across like the entire enterprise. So if you are thinking about standardization, centralized operating model is the right choice for you. Now moving to decentralized model. So in this one, LOBs and teams have autonomy over their AI workflows, models, and data within their respective AWS accounts when talking in a AWS setup. So they build their respective systems and operate independently. So they don't need like a central entity to manage all these. And when it comes to the central platform team, they take a role of like center of excellence, which defines the best practices, standards, and the governance frameworks across the organization. So when you think about decentralized operating model, think of it as like agility, like speed and flexibility to do things. Now, when it comes to hybrid or federated operating model, it's basically striking a balance between centralized and decentralized. So it is a more flexible model um, where the central platform team manages the foundation that offers building blocks for model access, evaluation, guardrails, central logs and metrics like observability to these teams or LOBs. And the LOBs, they use these foundational components to build and manage their own components as necessary. So this enables agile LOB innovation, also providing centralized oversight on governance area. Just to quickly give you like a quick analogy on this one is, think of it as like when you're organizing a family road trip, right? So the centralized approach is more like, one strict parent making all the decisions for the trip and planning every detail of the trip. Whereas the decentralized approach is more like each family member is involved and they are planning their own part of the trip independently. And hybrid is, as mentioned before, it strikes that balance, right? So the family agrees on shared rules like on budgets, safety, must see landmarks, but everyone is involved and they contribute ideas. So
Got it.
this shows how each model balances control, autonomy, and risks, whether planning a trip or creating your own GenAI applications. So therefore, based on your organization's needs, like if they want standardization, agility, or mix of both, you can choose an appropriate operating model for running AI across your organization.
Amazing. So I just shared my screen, and just to give a visual of what Nikhil was talking about, the centralized versus the decentralized, we'll also share the link in the comments. This is the same article as what we were talking about for to architect a mature GenAI foundation on AWS. It's previously shared, but if you scroll all the way down, you're going to see the operational boundaries, and it's going to talk about centralized and decentralized and federated as well. And also kind of like talk a little bit about the multi-tenant architecture and how and what are the best practices for that. So this blog is heavy on content, but super valuable for anybody who wants to read it and get to know, what is the possibilities and of a well-architected Gen AI leveraged within your company. We have about 15 minutes left. Amna has a demo, so we're going to time her. She's going to have 10 minutes to do it. You've got 10 minutes for the demo, and I'm super excited. So let's get started.
Always like a challenge. So We were talking about a lot of different concepts. So I really want to show you it in action, right? So how do we really realize this with the different tools and services that we've been talking about? Just want to quickly like get a thumbs up or a yes if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we're good.
Awesome. So before I show you the demo, I just want to show you the flow. So we were talking about, a user sending a request to a model, and then you are getting a response from the model, right? But it's not that easy. There are different things that are happening behind the scenes to make sure that you get to your desired response. So in the demo, what I'm going to show you is a Streamlit application that is powered by a backend built on fast API server that is kind of, invoking an agent, which is built using open source frameworks including LangGraph and LangChain, which have different kinds of steps. So this agent is talking to different models via a gateway that Rushabh just talked about. It's actually leveraging the Light LLM gateway, the guidance that we just showed you. So I will show you how you can also pick the desired model that you want to invoke while talking to your assistant. We also have made sure that this application is secure. So if tomorrow I don't want my assistant to answer questions about politics or investment advice, I have integrated it with Amazon Bedrock guardrails to make sure this application is safe and trustworthy. And behind the scenes, the agent is talking to multiple different tools. So on the right-hand side, I've highlighted one of the tools because I'm going to show you how I'm retrieving subcontext. So imagine this is a chat assistant for a telecommunication organization, and you're a customer and you want to like ask about a device that you've bought or are interested in buying, and you have some questions around that, right? So usually you have FAQs that are available, but who's going to read all of it, right? You just want your answer very, very quick. So the agent basically looks into all of the detailed documentation, looks at the question, which here is my router hub is not working, and then gets to exactly where the answer for that question resides in your knowledge base or in your FAQs or your extensive PDFs, provides it to the model, and then the model understands the context and answers the question. And while you're doing all of this, you also are logging and monitoring this interaction. Yes. So we are using an open source framework called LangFuse. So we're tracking all of the traces and spans in that tool. So I'll quickly show you the application. This is how the Streamlit application looks like. It's a customer service agent. It tells me, hello, I'm your AI assistant. How can I help you today, right? But before I go and say a hello, I want to show you that as a user, I also have access to multiple provider models. So nice. It's not just Bedrock models that I can see. I also have models outside of Bedrock, for example, GPT-4o Mini that I can pick to get responses from the model. And this is being made available via the Light LLM gateway that Rushabh just talked about. So I'll quickly send a hello to my application. And while it's getting a response, I also want to show you, I'll quickly jump. So it says, hello there, I'm a customer service assistant for any company. There's a placeholder name for the company. How can I help you today, right? And while it answers this question, I'll quickly jump to the Light LLM UI dashboard that Rushabh was talking about, right? This is where you can see the logs of how and when the model was found. So you can see that there was a success. I used an Anthropic Claude 3.5 Haiku model from the provider Bedrock, and I, of course, used an API key. So the Streamlit application is supported by a backend, which is using an API key, which has access via the gateway to access all of these different models to get a response, right? And the cool thing about the gateway, again, is it's not just about logs. I can also see usage. I can see usage of what are the keys that were used? What were the different models that have been used over time by the different teams in my organization? And what was the cost incurred? And you can also set like a max budget, right? So if you have certain teams that are just running some proof of concepts or experimentation, and you want to make sure that there is some budgeting, you can set that up for your teams as well. Moreover, you can also look at like the spend and the usage per team, per API key, what are the top models that are being used in your organization, as you can see over here, and also what is the provider usage, for example. So this is how the Light LLM gateway looks like. And like I said, there are different views, right? So I could just filter down to my key and
Awesome.
what is the usage spend. So once I have that, let me also quickly go and ask about my router hub, right? How to reset my router hub. Let's do that. How to reset my router hub. And in this case, what I also want to show you is that when I ask this question to the agent, I'll quickly also jump to the observability component of my GenAI platform, which is built using this open source framework called LangFuse. So in this case, it will also log that interaction here, right? So as you saw in the past, I sent a hello to my agent, and it also shows the steps, right? Which is why I was talking about trace and also span. So then I know that, okay, if it took 4 seconds for my model to respond, at which step did it like take a lot of time? So, when the model was being invoked, like 2 seconds, when the guardrail was being there was like 0.8 seconds and things of that sort. So I know how I can optimize my application and the different steps.
Awesome. So you can actually see where you need that optimization, where you need to be more efficient. Awesome.
Absolutely. And if I get a response from the user that the user is not really happy with the response, then you can also see like what really happened and how I can improve my application. So in this case, I asked the agent how to reset my router hub. And behind the scenes, I have a tool called Retrieve Context. So it's going to a knowledge base, which is built using Amazon Bedrock knowledge base to get some information about, okay, how to reset router hubs in this organization or the different products of this organization, right? So it gives you all the information. And this can also be like then observed as a trace in this application. So I quickly refresh it, you can see, and I'll quickly call out, right? So if you really want to know, okay, what was the tool that was called, you can check under the timeline view that, okay, I used the LangGraph framework, I used a model which went to call tools, the tool retrieve context, it uses Amazon knowledge base retriever, and then it goes on to the model again. It sees, okay, there is no more pending tool calls to be made, and then returns the response to the user. So you can also visualize this quite well. So it's really, very helpful to go really deep into understanding how your agent is working and what's going wrong. You also have a lot of metadata on the right. So you can see here quickly, what was the question, what was the model that was invoked. You can also look at under Light LLM, what was the token usage. So how many tokens were input, how many tokens were output, and as a result, what was the cost incurred. So you have like detailed the use of your application. Now, quickly want to also talk about guardrails, right? We spoke about...
So we do have a question before we move over to guardrails. There's a question here about from Tony on LinkedIn. He says, are these metrics and logs generated by Bedrock? If we call the external models directly through APIs, would these logs still exist? Could you give us a 10 seconds flourish on that?
So Bedrock out of the box natively supports model invocation logs by integrating with CloudWatch. But if you have an external application as well, like for example, LangFuse is an open source framework for tracing GenAI applications. So you can easily integrate that with your existing application using existing, again, open source frameworks like LangChain and LangGraph. So yes.
Amazing. And then another question we have is, do you have any documentation or guide to build this? Like, do you have a GitHub repo?
Yes, we have a lot of code samples that we can provide as well on the chat of how to realize this.
Amazing. I'm sure everybody would be excited to try this out. This is super, super cool, but please continue because we have 7 minutes left. So let's go.
Awesome. Now I could also so there's not just one tool I can integrate this with. I can integrate this agent with hundreds of tools. So one of them was retrieving the context. I had another tool which does a web search. So if you have to simply look for some information that's available on the web, there's another tool for that. But I could also integrate it with external tools, like you have your ticketing system, right? Or you have your portals where you have a lot of documentation and you have APIs available. So you could easily integrate those and or your databases actually. So if you are kind of a user that wants to know, okay, how many leads do I have left, or is this product in stock based on the the use case, you could easily integrate with those databases and get information. So in this case, I have integrated it with a ticketing system, like a support ticket portal. So I asked it at my router hub, it gave me something, I tried it out, it doesn't work. So I'll just be like, hey, create a support ticket for me for this problem. And in this case, I'll quickly jump, right? So there was another tool where, so in this case, the model is very intelligent. It understands which tool to really call based on the question that I'm asking. So you don't really need to explicitly tell it, right? So it says, hey, I've created a support ticket for your router hub reset issue. The ticket has been logged in our system. It also gives you a ticket number, which is ticket 8. Our support team will review the ticket. So I've integrated it with a third-party support ticket system, and the admins will now get a notification that this user, because it takes all the user information from my context, it knows, okay, me user, this is my email that they can contact me on, and this is my problem. So I did not really have to go to a different portal, log in, type all of that. It just did all of that for me and gave me an information that the ticket has been raised. I would also receive an email about that ticket, right? So that's also very, very cool. And based on different tools and services that are available, you can integrate agent there, and of course you will see the logs of this interaction as well. So that's the other example that I wanted to show you. So in this case, it will make a tool call not to retrieve context, but to create support ticket, and then give you all of the information of all the metadata that was required to make that call. Lastly, what I also want to talk about is, making sure that this application is safe and secure before you take it to your customers or in the hands of real users. And that's where we've integrated this application with Amazon Bedrock guardrails to make sure that if there are certain topics that users are talking about that my application is not supposed to answer, then it will deny. So I'm just going to be like, hey, can I invest in your company, right? And I'll show you. So I'm going to ask this question, but before
like
that,
something completely out. This is where guardrails are for. Something completely out of the usage of this specific agent, right?
Yeah, right. This is a customer support agent. It doesn't talk about investment. It doesn't talk about politics, for example. Or if I just paste in some sensitive information, right, which we don't want to process and don't want it on our side, it just blocks the input. So in this case, it just says, sorry, according to company policy, the model cannot answer this question. And I'll quickly jump to Amazon Bedrock.
We do have 2 minutes left, though, so we will need to wrap up. But while we're wrapping up, Anna, I'd love for you to get the link to the GitHub repo so we can share it in the chat as quickly as possible to our audience. And audience, thank you so much for joining us. This was super insightful. I hope everybody either learned something or received some inspiration of how to build a responsible and capable of observing your agent and everything. We do have I saw that Chris has been working really hard to answer some of our questions in the audience, including providing some skill builder courses around how to build a GenAI ready organization or introduction to GenAI, the art of the possible. We also provided a skill builder sessions on Bedrock, getting started, and Q introduction as well. Those are your fundamentals that you should get started with. And we will work to get all of these links out in the public after the show as well. We'll do a small post on LinkedIn. So if you find us on LinkedIn, please follow us on LinkedIn so we can actually give out all of the logs all of the links, no log sharing, all of the links that we talked about and wanted to share with everybody. And so I want to ask the audience, thank you so much, but what is your favorite part of today's show? let us know what your favorite part of today's show and what you'd like us to talk about in the next one. And I want to pass it over to Nikhil to kind of remind us what AWS Squatch Talks is.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the presenters and everyone for attending this. Yeah, as mentioned before, AWS Squatch Talks. Yeah, AWS Squatch Talks is a gamified learning program that we want to bring out to you. So this is just the first episode, and we want to learn more from you, what you want to learn in the upcoming sessions. So thank you again, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Nikhil and Rishabh and Amna for joining. This was amazing. And I hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.